Tour Junkies.
How's it going, everybody? David Barnett here, Tour Junkies. I've got Pat Perry with me. It is the Sanderson Farms Championship, 2019 years after the death of our Lord and Savior Jesus. And Pat is wearing an atrocious jersey and hat combination. I don't believe we've ever had more clashing colors on this podcast in my entire life. It's dreadful. Why are you wearing a Darius Geis Redskins jersey and a Georgia Bulldog red Tour Junkies hat?
You know, it's actually a shout out to a friend of mine. So I told him I was going to do it, and I did it. So he knows who he is.
Now?
Yeah, it's a shout out. But here's the thing: so the Geis jersey, I think you've sent out some pictures of the Geis jersey, me wearing it at the draft, and it's kind of a running joke with me and my season-long team, which sucks, by the way. And Darius Geis is now injured again, and so he will be dropped from my team. And so this is my last tribute to my good friend Darius Geis. So I just said I'm gonna wear it on the show tonight. So
R.I.P.
It's probably
Darius.
coming off. It's probably gonna come off later. It's a little hot. I got a backup shirt, so we're good.
Okay, all right. R.I.P.
Well, the hat, I don't know. The hat was like, I saw it last minute and I was like, that looks ugly too. So I'm gonna put that on. And as far as like the ugliness between the two colors, so
Terrible.
Whatever. I don't care.
I will say I was thinking about, well, what can I wear tonight for this golf tournament that no one cares about, and I figured, you know what, we're in Jackson, Mississippi, Bo. Might as well put my camo TJ hat on, so that's why I got this here camo on for when I get into the woods later.
I like it.
We're here in Jackson, Mississippi. You ever been to Mississippi?
I have.
To the casino?
Yeah.
Is that where you went?
No, I went to. Actually, no. I've just driven through there. I've driven through there on my way to Memphis.
So you weren't going there. You were having.
No,
to
I wasn't going
there.
to Mississippi. No.
Okay. Well, it's a big week, a huge week. At the Sanderson Farms Championship. If you can't get up for this, what can you really get up for, right? Am I right?
I don't know.
It's really tough.
Watching Darius Geis play for the Redskins, maybe.
No. But here's what we're going to do. We got a new show format. We obviously talked about that last week. We're going to get right into the course breakdown right here. Some key stats, strategy, get into the picks, both in DFS and your betting circles. And then we're going to do our victory lap after this and talk about hitting, Robbie Shelton at 150-1 as your first-round leader last week.
You're pretty excited about doing that.
If you weren't in on the chalk bomb, woo! Daddy is up some units to start the year, and I am jacked. So we're going to talk about that. We've got another great, fun segment tonight that I'm looking forward to again. We're going to do just the tip one more time, but it's brought to you by myself. I will be delivering my tip tonight to all of you in your ear holes. It's going to be a good time. Before we do that, I do want to tell everybody about benhogangolf.com. We have talked about Ben Hogan Golf for a few months now. Pat and I have the driver and putter in the bag. We're waiting on the wedges. And let me just tell you, as someone who's bought a lot of golf equipment, it's the same technology that you're getting at Dick's, paying $500 for a driver, or you're paying way too much money for a Scotty Cameron putter. You can find it in the Ben Hogan product, and they have, Ben Hogan Golf was a thing years ago. They kind of, went dormant for a little bit, and then they just woke up. They just woke up just a little bit ago, and they started making golf clubs again, and they make them right here in America. They make them.
Texas.
Don't get no more America than that. They make them right there. When you order them, they are custom made for you, and they don't do retail. There's no retail, so there's no markup. So you get them at a discount, right? So you can get a brand spanking new, custom fit for you, sweet shaft, sweet grip, great looking driver for the Ben Hogan Golf at $300 right there on the website. But if you're like, $300 is still a little much, if you use promo code Tour Junkies, you make us look good. You get a new driver, and you save an additional $30. So now you're getting a brand new driver for $270. That's pretty ridiculous. You can get the putter at 10% off as well, the already marked down prices. If you've watched our social media, our Instagram, we've been playing with the Ben Hogan driver, putting with it. So,
You putting with the driver? Why are you doing that?
Occasionally.
Putter.
Okay, occasionally. Maybe I will. But I like Ben Hogan. They look great. They feel great. They perform well. And if you're a hack or you're like a 10 handicap, in there, you can find clubs that fit you no matter what. Irons, wedges, putters, hybrids, drivers, fairway woods, all that stuff. Pat, are you enjoying your driver? You haven't got to play it very much, but when you have played,
no, I like it. It's a fantastic driver. One of the things too, you know how I am. Obviously, I got some OCD tendencies and things like that. I like the look. So sometimes it's just if something looks good and you're holding it,
that's true.
And it's
it does look good.
It looks great. So I like that as well. So I mean, literally,
it has a Titleist vibe to it. They probably don't want me to compare it to something, but it looks.
Yeah, you might not.
It has a Titleist vibe, but you're not paying $600 for it. So
it's a sweet looking driver. And the putter's good too. Great. So
yeah, BenHoganGolf.com, promo code Tour Junkies. Pat, hit us with the course breakdown.
Yes, Sanderson Farms, Jackson, Mississippi this week. The Country Club of Jackson. Looking forward to this tournament.
If that doesn't sound like a good old boy country club, I don't know. I don't know if there's one in the country that does. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, ugh. I want to be in the. They probably have a men's grill or something, just a men's grill.
No ladies allowed.
Yeah, and they're coming out, after their game, and they're just the stories coming out of there are probably good. Anyway, par 72, just over 7,400 yards. We got a full field, 156 players this week. It is Bermuda grass, tee to green. They don't typically run too quickly on these greens, but they are Bermuda greens. It's the fairways are pretty wide. If you kind of run through hole by hole, there really isn't just a whole lot to this course. It is all there, just straight out in front of you. Now, we have seen some accurate folks like Ryan Armour in 2017 won here, but then Cam Champ last year just bomb and gouged this thing. I think the key is just being in the right spots in the fairway, because these greens are tough. You got it. They're not. They're sort of raised, sort of Donald Ross style design greens with bunkering around them and runoffs and things like that. So you do want to be in the right spot off the tee so that you can hit these greens, take advantage. But there's not a whole lot of trouble on this course. I mean, there's water on a few holes, but it really doesn't come into play. I can think of one, actually, the par 5. I think it's the 11th. It plays at 554 yards. There is water down the right side on that approach. But you got to take advantage of these 4 par 5s out here. They're all pretty straightforward. It's not a difficult course, but you got to be playing well to win this week. And I think I'm going to definitely look at recent form. I'm going to look at course history, looking at proximity. I think you got to hit these greens in the right spot, which also tells me greens in regulation, and then par 5 scoring. Past champs, you had Cameron Champ in 2018, Ryan Armour in 2017, Cody Gribble 2016, Peter Malnati in 2015, and Nick Taylor in 2014. A lot of young guys that coming off the web.com at the time getting a victory there. So I think that's interesting to note. We saw the web guy or the Corn Ferry guys do pretty well last week. So I think you'll see that theme continue again this week in such a weak field event. So, boom.
You ever I just had this pain in the side of my head. You ever feel like we're getting cancer from Bluetooth things? Oh, all of a sudden I just had this maybe it was your voice, but I just had this freaking sharp pain just shooting the side of my head, and now it's gone.
It's probably my voice.
By the way, speaking of Pat's voice, we have heard everyone piss and moan about the audio quality that we've had lately. And a lot of it is we just don't have a clue. And then some of it is when Pat gets all fired up and a little bit buzzed, the frequency of his voice jumps up 11 octaves. And
they haven't developed anything.
It's the worst. It's literally the worst.
They haven't developed anything yet to have sort of a Pat filter. So it just hasn't. We don't have that yet. Hey, but once we can get there, we might have a Pat filter.
Here's our problems. Is we record in different locations and so it's tough, but if we have any really smart sound people out there that want to hit us up, email us info@tourjunkies.com. We'll pay you in Tour Junkies swag or something to help us figure this out, because we want to make it enjoyable for you. Back to the Sanderson though, Pat. Yeah, I agree with most of what you said there. I think that you hit on the first time winners there. The event's been played here 6 times at this course. Every time it's been a first time winner. So another little, I'm licking my chops at some long shots here, and first time winners, you do not have to be afraid at all. That tends to be what we get. You got a lot of guys like that just playing in the field in general. I like you. I mean, I think you can be a short hitter. You can be a bomber. I don't really think it matters as long as your iron play is on point. If you're shorter, you're going to have obviously a lot longer irons into these greens. But you can be a bomber all day long and have wedge through 8 iron, and you can't hit a wedge to save your life, and you're still struggling. So I didn't really factor in a whole lot of length here or distance off the tee or even necessarily accuracy off the tee. The rough's not very bad here. At least it hasn't been in years past. So I'm not really sweating that. I do like the distance angle because of the par 5s that you mentioned, so I may lean a little bit more towards those guys. But to me, the biggest thing, you got to score here. I mean, your winning scores here are going to creep into the 20s. You got to have guys that are going to go low. You got to have guys that are going to score, get hot, hit these greens, like you said, with some tight approach shots, and be able to putt these Bermuda greens and navigate these Bermuda greens that we have here. So, but, of late, I've definitely leaned less on stats. But I looked at a couple things. I looked at ball striking at this event over the last few years, just guys who tee to green, hit those greens in regulation. And I looked at strokes gained putting on Bermuda over the last 100 rounds, just a big sample size. Who likes Bermuda, who doesn't? Other than that, I've got the guys in my head who I think are scorers, who are in good form, who finished the Korn Ferry season, pretty hot, or maybe this is their first event of the new season on the PGA Tour, but played well into the finals or the Tour Championship last season. Just guys who can score. Obviously, ownership, big deal if you're playing DFS. And that's it. I'm not going to get too super cute there on the stats.
So when you say you mentioned you got it in your head, the scores. So I'm coming at this from a listener angle. Like, what do you mean when you say you got it in your head that you're like are you looking at like fantasy national opportunities gained stats, like the guys that are giving themselves a shot, or are you looking at par 5 scoring? Or are you looking at DraftKings points? Like, what does that mean? You got it in your head.
Fantastic question. The same head that just got the cancer wave sent from my Bluetooth AirPod to my brain is the head that I'm talking about. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love those stats, opportunities gained, which is a fantasy national proprietary stat. I love par 5 scoring. I don't hate those things. I guess at this point of the season, you don't have a lot of data on the Korn Ferry guys. Your data from the PGA Tour guys may be weeks old. I just think in your head, if you've done this long enough, like we have, you kind of know the guys who are known for scoring, who can get hot, who take advantage of the par 5s, and those that don't just kind of Bill Haas their way through the golf course. Like Bill Haas.
I think Bill Haas is a perfect example, by the way. I mean, he's a guy that, he's steady Eddie at times. He's not, but there are other guys our winner last week, Neiman, who just can go low. He has more rounds, I think I saw today, this year under 66 over any player. Brian Harman's another one. So those are guys, and I think that's important though when you're playing this. If it's your first time, and you're kind of getting into this in the fall here, which you're probably not because the NFL is going on and stuff like that. But either way, pay attention to these first round, second round scores and things like that. The guys that can go low, it's obviously a 4-round event, but it's something to be looking at, and keep it in the old bank, the old head bank there, and just remember that kind of stuff, because you'll start to learn who these guys are that can go low, especially on these easy courses in a weak field event.
100%, Pat. Let's get into the picks. I'm gonna let you start tonight. We're in the 9K and above range on DraftKings. We're gonna give you 3 tournament or GPP plays that we like. We're gonna give you a cash lock. By the way, my cash picks last week, nails, and we're gonna give you a fade. So Pat, deliver your picks, sir.
All right.
Also, podcast juice tonight. I have the usual. You?
I have a little Tito's with a splash of like lemon juice in there.
Oh, just straight up Tito's tonight.
Well, I mean, there's club. Sorry, club too.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's integral part of the drink. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, no, not just straight up Tito's, but yeah. Where were we? Okay, we're talking about 9K and above guys. So I'm gonna start. I don't know. I think you could actually do like last week, and you could fade some of these over 10K guys. I don't want to play Demon. I know he's just been on fire, but I typically don't like to play a guy coming off a win. I just don't. Especially your first win and you're celebrating and whatever else. I don't know. He might go out there and do well, but he's obviously the highest priced guy this week, so I'm not playing Neiman. Of this group, though, I like Lucas Glover at 10-2. I think I'm going to go. I will put him in some lineups. You look at his stats. He checks a box in ball striking, checks a box in proximity. He's been had a great year in 2000, and we're on a new season now, but whatever. He's had a really good year. So I think Lucas Glover is a good play this week. You look at, he's played here the last 4 years, he's the only guy over 10K that has actually played here a decent amount of times. Okay.
Yeah, you know why? Because Lucas Glover's wife may be crazy, but she ain't stupid. So she's at home every fall, and she's going, "Hey, Lucas, guess who's not in the field at this darn Sanderson Farms thing in Mississippi?" "Well, I don't want to go to Mississippi. I want to rep." No, guess who's not in the field? Like John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Francesco Molinari, Tommy Fleetwood. And she just starts naming all the top 50 on the planet, and she's like, "They're not there. So go get a paycheck." He's like, "Okay." That's why he's here.
He gets a paycheck, though. He had top 15 last year. He was T5 back in 2017. So I think Lucas Glover, of all these guys, he's really my favorite in this group over 10K. So I will play him. Down below, I mentioned him earlier. I love some Brian Harman at 9,700. He is another guy that's just been in great form, coming off a T3 last week. He was 52nd in the Northern Trust, but he was T6 at the Wyndham. Also checking all the boxes when it comes to the stat categories. You look at strokes gained around the green. You got to scramble good on these greens with the runoffs and things like that. Great ball striker. He is where is he? 11th in opportunities gained, top 20 in greens and regulations, top 10 in strokes, par 5 scoring, and 5th in proximity. So I like some Brian Harman this week. And then I'm going to drop down to, by the way, cash play will be Brian Harman for me. But I like Vaughn Taylor at 9,300 also as a GPP play. And here's why. Look, people are going to look at that price and not want to play Vaughn. But when it comes down to it, the guy has been in great form. You look at his last 3 events, T16 at the BMW, top 30 at Northern Trust, T39 at the Wyndham. But he's had a very solid year. Checks a box when it comes to looking at ball striking, 2nd in opportunities gained in the field. He's 3rd in proximities, top 20 in par 5 scoring. So I like some Vaughn Taylor. You look at the history here. He's made 4 straight cuts, top 26 last year, T10 in 2018. He hasn't finished worse than 26, which was last year. 2 straight top 20 finishes in 2015 and 2016. So I like Vaughn Taylor as well at 9,300. The fade for me is going to be Snets. I think there's just name recognition with him being up there at 10-7. I really don't, I don't know if he's never played this course, for one. He's not checking any boxes for me, really, other than outside of maybe scrambling. But that's pretty much about it. Now, he is a pretty good putter, I think, on Bermuda, and he's been in pretty good form. The form's not bad. But I just don't want to pay 10-7 for Brandt Snedeker. Just can't do it. So he's going to be my fave this week.
Well, interesting. There's definitely some disagreement to start off tonight. Quite a lot of disagreement here, Pat. First of all, my first play is going to be Brandt Snedeker in tournaments. I don't think folks are going to pay for Brandt Snedeker at 10-7, like you just said. I think Sung J M is going to be a popular play, and I don't mind Sung J M at all. I'm not saying I don't think he'll do well. I just think in tournaments, I like the Snedeker upside and possible low ownership there. He is 9th in this field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda over the last 100 rounds. His form is sensational as he's gained about 17 strokes in his last 5 events dating back to the WGC St. Jude with a couple top 6s, top 5s, top 6s Hasn't played here before. I don't think that matters. We just talked about how many first-time winners you have here. I don't think the course is right in front of you. There's nothing complicated. You just go out and do it, and I think
He's not a
Stats can do
first-time
that.
winner. He's won a few times on tour.
I know, but I'm saying if all these first-time winners come out here and win, then that proves that history doesn't really matter that much here.
I'm just saying that he's not a first-time winner. So.
Well, thanks. I think I knew that Brant Snedeker won a golf tournament before. Thanks for clearing that up, Darius. Thanks for clearing that up, buddy. Yeah, so I like Snedeker at 10-7. I'm going to roll with him. He's not officially my fade, but I don't like your Lucas Glover play. But he's not officially my fade. I just want to comment on that. I'm going back to the well with Scotty Scheffler. Love Scotty Scheffler here at 9,900. I mean, he's got very similar odds to win as anybody up top above him, priced above him, finished 7th at the Greenbrier. Incredible ball striker. Love the upside there. He's actually played here before. He played last year, the sponsors exemption, made the cut, finished 45th. But I love what Scotty's doing right now. He just looks tremendous. So I'm going with Scotty Scheffler. And I'm gonna go with Corey Connors. I'm gonna go to the guy who finished runner-up here last year, I believe. I think he was runner-up here. Yeah, runner-up here last year. Finished the season pretty hot as well. Gained about 15 strokes in his last 5 events. We know Corey Connors is a ball striker, one of the best iron players, one of the best long iron players on the PGA Tour. And if you're looking at stats last year, his name popped up a lot in that category. So. I think Scheffler and Connors could be a little chalky in this range, but I think I'm going to make up for it with that Sned's call. And there's definitely some guys in this.
I think you're right. I think Connors is going to be probably the most chalky guy in this range.
False. But
who do you think is going to be the most chalky guy?
In the 9K and above?
Yeah.
I think Harman could give him a run for his money, or Scheffler, honestly. I think Harman or Scheffler.
Yeah, I think Connors is going to be up there.
I mean, you could pay $300 more and get or $100 more and get Harman, who played great last week. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Either way, I don't mind the Connors play. I just think he's going to be topped up a ton this week, which is fine. Whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you like him, play him. Whatever.
There's so much like the 7 and 6K range on DraftKings. There's so much like. There's so many guys who I feel like are the same, excuse me, that like I think it'll be pretty easy to differentiate yourself down there. I mean, last week ownership was pretty concentrated on a handful of guys. I don't feel like it was super spread out. So you could have the chalk guys and you're still okay in terms of DFS. I will say, you know how much I love to bet the long shots. I guess I'm just buying into the Scheffler hype train right now, but I wrote him down as a potential look-in on my bookie at 25-1, betting the short odds Scheffler. That's like nauseatingly short odds for me to bet on golf. But it's tempting with Scheffler. I feel that good about him. He is also my cash play, and I'm going to take the cop out fade here and go Neiman. I agree with you. I don't play him coming right off the win. I don't play him as the highest priced guy. I'm just not going to do that with what he's got to do to return value. But damn, if that ball flight he had on Sunday just wasn't sexy to watch. Those low iron shots he was hitting on Sunday, I watched it all day. Those are just sexual.
He's
good to watch.
Good, for sure. And it's nice to see him coming around because I think we had our first show, our preview show last year, and I said that, this year, and we were kind of talking about our guys to watch that were relative rookies. I know you were huge on Cam Champ. But Neiman was really my guy as being the guy that was going to make a splash, and he finally has come through. So, he's fun to watch.
Can we get a Pat Perry tooting his own horn sound effect out there? Anybody?
Well, if we had that sound effect, you'd be hitting that button on your you wouldn't even have the button on your keyboard
today, Junior.
Yeah, it would be broken on your keyboard. Because
you had to work it in there that I said Cam Champ. You had to work that in there. Okay, I hear you. Yeah, I don't know. Neiman. The other thing, too, is like at the Greenbrier, those greens were so freaking pure. I mean, they looked amazing, and they were rolling really good, and they're bent grass. Neiman, just like you just get it on your line on those kind of surfaces. You get it started on your line, and you're good. Neiman is 94th in this field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda. So he's obviously going now to a surface that he hasn't historically done as well on. Maybe that changes some things for him this week. We'll see. All right, 8K range. I'm not really a fan of this range. In fact, I almost full on just cheated and said I'm not doing it. Like I'm gonna protest the 8K range. I almost did that, but I'm not. I am gonna go with Aaron Wise and my boy Wyndham Clark. I'm gonna keep pounding the Wyndham Clark drum until it hits. The kid is so. If I gotta pick one in this range, Wyndham Clark is probably my favorite. He's 17th in strokes gained putting on Bermuda surfaces. Had a really solid end of the year last year. Played really well. Kind of came around there. Played this event twice. 17th place finish in 2018. 54th last year. When I talk about like the guy in my head that I know can go low, can get hot, can score on par fives. Yeah, Wyndham Clark and Aaron Wise is kind of the same guy. Neither one of them, we've seen in a few weeks, but you did have Aaron Wise get a top 25 here in 2018. His end of the season last year, to me, wasn't as good as Wyndham Clark's, but again, not a bad putter on Bermuda surfaces. For the upside in this range at that price tag, like if I look at Nick Taylor, which I know we're probably going to talk about Nick Taylor because you love course history, and so you're going to jack Nick Taylor off right now because his course history is amazing and he played well last week. But if I'm looking at tournaments and I'm looking at upside, I see Wyndham Clark and Aaron Wise having way more upside than a Nick Taylor at this event, just because the ability to go stupid low and finish at 20 to 22 under and win this golf tournament, I think those guys have the ability to do. I know Nick Taylor's won this event before, but I don't know that we see it now with the competition he's facing. I don't know that we get that. So I just like the upside from those two guys. And if I've got to pick another one for cash, I guess I'll go Wyndham Clark. Honestly, in cash, I would probably just go with two guys in the 9K and then drop down to my guy at the 7 that I'll talk about in a minute. And then I'm going to go another easy fade. I'm going Cam Champ. Just what have we seen? Now he's a returning champion, which has some extra duties and responsibilities. I don't know. Obviously, he fizzled out pretty poorly. So that's the 8K range for me. Not a fan.
Well, there's 10 guys in this range, and I agree with you, actually. I think you could just throw them out. You don't have to play any guy. Like, why do you have to play somebody in this range? Like, we segment it out to these, 9K, 8K, 7K,
well, that's to
6K.
help the people.
I know. I agree. I'm not hating how we do it, but there's no reason you couldn't fade. And to be honest, I don't really like a whole lot of guys. I'm not even a huge fan of Nick Taylor. I mean, I know he's got course history or whatever, but I mean, outside of that, I don't know. I mean, he's been okay as far as his form's concerned, but I'm not, and I know he's won here before, but I'm not necessarily that excited about him. I am excited about Aaron Wise. I think that's a great play at 8,500. I'm totally with you there. So he was one of my GPP plays as well. So I do like him. I think Cam Champ is actually interesting. Now, he was not one of my tournament plays, but I think he's going to be super low owned. Everybody's just jumping off the Cam Champ bus. But I don't know. We saw a little bit, he played a little bit better the last few weeks of the season. So, I mean, not great. But I don't know if I would just completely fade him. I do think you fade, Martin Laird. He's up there. I don't know, whatever. Martin Laird just kind of sucks to me. I don't know why you pay $8,800 for him. My other play, by the way, I did like Wyndham Clark, but I think Kyle Stanley's a good play. Look at his stats as far as across the board. He really checks the box. He's top 10 in ball striking, 5th in greens and regulation, 8th in par 5 scoring, and 11th in proximity. He's played good all year. He's made 7 straight cuts with 3 top 25 finishes. He was 13th at the Wyndham. So I think that Kyle Stanley at 8,100 is certainly worth a look in your tournament lineups. But overall, I really hate this range. I didn't even really want to talk about anybody, but I just did.
I also like Wyndham Clark at 50 to 1. I forgot to mention he's 50 to 1 on my bookie, which that may end up making it. Aaron Wise, if you're interested in him, 40 to 1. I probably would save my unit for Wyndham if I were going to go in that range. But let's say you like Aaron Wise a little more, he's at 40 to 1. So
I'll say this too. I mean, I think you kind of bump up Wyndham Clark. He runs a fantastic Instagram page. It's a very good.
My.
It's a very good. It's a very good Instagram page. That's all I'm going to say.
Wyndham is doing very well for himself
He's enjoying life.
Yeah, he's at. Let's see. Let me think about this. I'm a 20. What is he like? 24. I'm a 24-year-old stud guy with above average looks, and I make bank on the PGA Tour. Yeah, he's just doing really well. If you're not following Wyndham Clark on Instagram, you should. In fact, follow him before you even follow us. Just do that.
You'll be rewarded. That is for sure.
All right, 7K and 6K. Man, there's a lot of guys in here. There's a lot of guys in here to talk about. A lot of guys I'm interested in. It's really tough for me to narrow this down to. We're going to give you 3 tournament plays, a cash play, and 2 fades in the 7K. It's very tough for me to narrow this down in the 7K. I don't know what I'm going to do, Pat. I don't know. Like, are you confident with your plays? Maybe if you name them, first, I will echo that and then name different guys. Why don't we do that?
All right. So
I'm very indecisive in this range.
I'm indecisive as well, but I'm also just taking some risk. I think this is a range. There's obviously a ton of players in here. If you only got 10 guys in the 8K range, that means you're going to have a lot in the 7K range to look at and the 6K. So this is, but I think you can certainly take some risks, but a little bit of calculated risk here.
Calculated? Did you say calculated?
It's a calculated risk. I'm going to start with Sebastian Munoz at 7,900. I think he's a sneaky good play here. You look at the stats, he's top 25 in the field in scrambling. He is 5th in the field in par 5 scoring. We've seen winners over here, by the way, in this tournament the last 5 years. Par 5 scoring has just been key. So I think that's something we're going to look at. He's a good ball striker. He checks the box in greens and regulation. So I think he is a sneaky play, and he's coming off a top 10. He was T7 last week at the Greenbrier. Made his last 2 cuts before that at the Northern Trust and at the Wyndham. So I think he's a good kind of sneaky play. I like him at 7,900. Also, I am going to go with. All right, so here's the thing here. I got to talk about this range. There are 3 guys here at 7,500 that are all Bill Haas, Charlie Hoffman, and Jason Dufner. All like kind of good old classic names on tour. Well, I'm fading 2 of them. As a matter of fact, my fade in this range is the double H, Bill Haas and Charlie Hoffman. Fading. I know everybody wants to look at Charlie Hoffman. Everybody loves Charlie Hoffman. I love him too. But I'm not playing him this week, and I'm not playing Bill Haas because he can't score, and I just can't. I don't like it. But I do like the other guy in this range, and that is Mr. Jason Dufner at 7,500. These are his people, David. He's in Jackson, Mississippi. People love some Jason Dufner. The guy, he's 13th in the field in opportunities gained. By the way, this is when my octaves are going up.
Yeah.
You hear those octaves going up? 6th in ball striking. We know he's a great ball striker. 3rd in greens and regulation. Checks the box in par 5 scoring and proximity. So I like Jason Dufner at 7,500. He's always hit or miss. You just never know what you're going to get from old Duff. But I'm okay with that. He'll certainly have low ownership. So I think he's a good tournament play. So I like that. And then at 7,300, I like some Adam Schenk as well. Top 20 in the field in putting on Bermuda. Checks a box in the opportunities gained, greens and regulation. He was top 10 here last year, so I think Adam Schenk is another. And he was like a cut-making just machine last year as well. So I like Adam Schenk at 7,300. Cash, I'll probably go Schenk. I guess that's where I'll go at 7,300. But this is a hard range to hit. I hate being the first one to talk about it, but there are a lot of guys actually that I think you can take flyers on. Bryce Garnett is another one at 7,200. I think is kind of a bonus play there. But you got your boy Robbie Shelton in here. So
You literally mentioned one person that I had written down, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 11 names written down, and you mentioned one of them.
well, I mean,
So
what are you going to
we
say?
are
I mean, there's
definitely.
like 40. How many guys are in this range?
I
Like
know
30?
it's just we are definitely not on the same page tonight, which is interesting. I did have Schenk as one of my names, bouncing off a miscut last week, but I think all right. So let me see here. If I've this is so hard. All right, if I've got to nail down 3 tournament plays, I'm gonna start with Harris English, who played really well last week. He's 15th in this field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda surfaces. He's played here a couple times. T39 last year at this event, no big deal, not great. But third place finish at the Greenbrier. Doesn't have full status on the PGA Tour. He needs to keep playing well. He really does. And I like the form and I like the putting upside for Harris English. Sam Burns. I can't, it's so hard for me to quit Sam Burns. I wanted him last week and he missed the cut. He finished 3rd here last year, 43rd the year before that. He is 4th in this field in strokes gained putting on Bermuda and 8th in strokes gained tee to green at this event in the two times he's played it. He's 60-1 on my bookie. By the way, Harris English is another one I'm looking at 80-1. I could see my entire betting card being made up of guys that are equivalent 7K guys. I love this range. I think our winner is going to come from this range. So I'm going.
Think you could be right. And by the way, Sam Burns was I had names written down too, and obviously, and he scares the hell out of me.
I don't know. I can't quit him. Why can't I quit him? I don't know why. I just can't. All right, and then this is so tough. If I'm gonna go with another tournament play, I'm gonna go with one that I know is gonna be pretty low owned, and that should be at $7,600. Mr. Matt Jones, the Aussie,
I had to see
missed.
now. There was actually agreement, even though you didn't.
Okay.
I mean, I had him written down too, so I'm okay with either.
He's played here 3 times and missed the cut every single time, which is not a thing in his favor. But 10th place at the Greenbrier last week, 30th at the Northern Trust in a limited field, but 30th. Here's what Matt Jones does well. Matt Jones scores well, and he plays par 5s well. I just think he's an interesting tournament flyer. So if I'm going to go GPP plays, I'm going to go there. My cash play is the same cash play I had in this range, I believe, last week. It paid off. He finished 36th, and that is Mr. Cameron Tringale. He's playing well right now. He's just solid. He's a cut maker right now. $7,300 is a good price for that. He's played here twice, made the cut both times. Nothing to write home about, but he's made the cut both times. He's 75-1 on my bookie. But let me give you a couple other names just to throw out there. I have to be thinking about. Patrick Rodgers actually intrigues me a little bit. He's 125-1 on my bookie. Played well at the Greenbrier. Sam Ryder also played well at the Greenbrier. He's 140-1. You mentioned Robbie Shelton. He's 125-1. I don't know that I'll be back on the Robbie Shelton train for betting. Seeing, I had his number at 300-1 last week. It's really tough for me to pay 125-1 now. But
there's that button. That button is destroyed.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But DFS maybe, I don't know, maybe not. He got a little bump. But those are just some names I'm looking at. I could see DB's Big Balls betting card on the weekly email being filled with a lot of these guys. So be on the lookout for that. I'm fading 2 guys who played well at the Greenbrier, but who got some screen time as well. And the first one is Richie Wawrinski, the guy in the final group last week. I mean, I like Richie. I think he's a good player. He is one of these that, I don't know, like, I guess when he kind of seems like a little bit of a head case to me. He doesn't putt well on Bermuda. Doesn't have a great history here to write home about being in the last group on Sunday. Maybe he gets a little bump. I'm not interested. And then a guy that I do like, but I'm just not going to play because, again, I think he's going to get a bump. Tom Hoagie. I love some Hoagie. He's made only 2 cuts here out of the last 5 years. Best finish was a 35th. Finished runner-up last week at the Greenbrier, which is great. I wish he would have won, but he didn't. I'm not going to jump on the Hoagie train right now. Horrible putter on Bermuda, like absolutely horrible, and really very bad tee to green historically in the last 5 years at the Greenbrier. So I don't think I'll be playing any Hoagie. That is the 7K range, ladies and gents. Anything else to comment there on the 7K range, Pat?
No, that is all I got.
All right, 6K range, also full of some good ones here. I like a lot of the guys here. We're just going to give you any tournament plays that we may have, any bets we may have, no cash plays or anything down here. Pat, who's catching your eye in the 6K range?
Well, I am going to start with our fellow Aiken boy, Scott Brown, at 6,800. I like him. You know, he's 150 to 1 on my bookie. So I got a little story for you.
Ooh,
so as you know,
time.
Obviously the listeners don't. I actually got to hang out with our boy John Tillery this past weekend at the Georgia game, and at where he teaches out of at Lake Oconee, Cuskawilla. And
must be nice.
So we got to talking. We talked about Scott Brown. He said, you know, here's the thing about Scott. For one, he's playing really well right now. He liked how he's playing, but he's like, this guy can never have a complete round. Like, he's just like, he'll be like 5 or 6 under through like 15 or 16 holes and then somehow screw up a round.
Yeah.
But he said that, you know, he really likes how Scott's playing right now. He was just with him at the Greenbrier last week. So I think that's some good intel on Scott. And if he's another guy that if he's hot, he can score, he can make birdies. So I think Scott Brown is you know, and he's been in really good form. I mean, you look at let's see, his last 3-4 events.
Not great, but 31st last week.
Yeah, 31st last week. So yeah. I don't know. He checks a box in par 5 scoring and ball striking as well. So I like some Scott Brown at 6,800. And when his coach is telling me he's hitting the ball well, yeah, I'll play him. Okay. So I like him. Down a little bit cheaper, some Seamus Power at 6,600. I think he's a good kind of flyer play. He's got pretty decent course history here. You look at he was top 20. By the way, he hadn't finished worse than 30. He's played here 3 straight years, T29 and 17, T18 and 18, 19th last year. Been in pretty good form, so I like some Seamus Power at 6,600. I'll give you a bonus play. And I
will add to that Seamus Power take. He was one I had written down. In his history here at the Greenbrier, he's 13th in the field, tee to green, at the Greenbrier. So the course suits his eye. He knows how to play it. He loves it. He's 17th in this field in his strokes gained putting on Bermuda, and he is 250 to 1 on my bookie to win.
Correct.
I like the Seamus Power play. I had him written down as well.
Yeah, 250 to 1. I was about to say 250 to 1. I was about to talk about Bermuda Green. Anyway,
you said a bonus play. You said I have a bonus play. That has nothing to do with it. I have a bonus
play. Yeah, well, I mean, I was just saying you cut me off, and I had all those things.
I didn't cut you off. You said I have a bonus play. No, I said okay.
Okay, anyway, bonus play, Tyler McCumber at 6,400. We talk about guys that can go low. If you watched him, and you and I interviewed him at the SavannahWeb.com event, because it was the Web.com then, and yeah, I just always sort of took a liking to him. He's just a cool guy.
He was cool.
And the guy can score.
Strokes game being a cool guy.
Yeah, and he is a scorer. So I think that McCumber at 6,400. Now, he did miss a cut last week, I think. Did he miss a cut?
No, he made the cut. He played well.
So he did play well. Sorry, I was thinking of somebody else. Anyway, I think, and he's 300 to 1 on my bookie. I mean, worth a shot. I just think that I like him. T47, by the way, at the Greenbrier. So that's my bonus play for you.
Not bad. First event on the PGA
Tour. A lot of guys in here that you can take flyers on, I think. So
yeah.
Who you got?
I like our boy Scott Stallings, who you were on last week. He missed the cut on the number at the Greenbrier. But he's played here. This will be his 5th year in a row playing this event. He's made the cut every year except for one. Best finish at T28. He's 11th. So in those 4 years, he's 11th tee to green at the Greenbrier. again, suits his eye, plays it well. I think he's interesting at 6,900 coming off the miscut. You just got to have Scott make some putts, man. That's all he needs to do. The guy who is number 1 in strokes gained tee to green at the Greenbrier over the last few years, with a minimum of 10 rounds played, is at 200 to 1, and he's $6,800 on DraftKings. His name is Mr. DJ Trahan. I don't know, it's just an interesting name for me. This golf course obviously suits him, so I like him. I'm going to go a guy who I usually play a lot of, but I didn't mention his name last week, and that is Mr. Hank Lebioda, your doppelganger. I finished 36 at the Greenbrier. He seems to me he's a little Cam Champ-esque. Like he doesn't hit it quite as far as Cam Champ, but he hits it a long way. He's quite streaky. He can't put 4 together. If he could just warm up with the putter a little bit, he could actually win one. Kept his tour card last year through the Korn Ferry Finals, so he's been playing well. He's motivated. He's 160 to 1 on my bookie. So I like Hank Lebioda. I'm on your Seamus Power play as well. So those are my guys. There's a few other names down here I'm looking at. The number 1 ranked amateur in the world, Ashtay Bakhtai or whatever his name is, Bhatia. You know what I'm talking about? Bhatia, yeah.
Sure yeah.
George Gangus's guy, Akshay Bhatia. Yeah. George Gangus's guy, number 1 ranked amateur. This is his first event as coming out as a professional, skipping college. He's going the LeBron route. Skipping college, playing this event at 6,100. Would you have any shares of Akshay? He's a stud. He hits it a mile, I think.
Didn't he play in a tour event?
He played in one tour event before.
He missed a cut, right? But it was like right on the number or something. Or did he make a cut?
I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for the picks, man. We're all good there. Good stuff.
Sanderson Farms!
Oh, God. The perfect lineup last week, Pat, in DFS, would have been Joaquin Niemann, obviously, the winner, Nate Lashley, Tom Hoagie, Richie Warinsky, Harris English, and Brian Harman. Would have scored you 689.5 DraftKings points, and you would have spent $46,000. You would have left 4 G's on the table on DraftKings playing those guys. How about it? How about that, huh?
I just noticed this on here. I didn't read this part of the rundown.
Of course you didn't.
I think that's something interesting to note when you're looking at these fall events. Leave some cash on the table in the tournaments.
Yeah. For sure. Because
look at these guys.
A lot of these, especially the Korn Ferry guys, they're not appropriately priced yet.
No, they're not. And that's we typically see that every year. So let's talk about me. Let's talk about you, because that's what I see next here, and we're gonna hear a lot from David here for the next.
Yours truly, 150 to 1. Cash it. First round leader bet on Robbie Shelton. And if you're going, wait a minute, I didn't hear anything about that. Well, it's because you're not subscribed to our email list. And that I don't understand. We've been talking about it for a year now. It's a free email. The worst thing you're going to get out of it is couple laughs. That's it. If all you get is just a couple laughs out of it, that's all you get. But right now, what is in that email that is nowhere else is DB's Big Balls betting card. And that is where I go, hey, if you want to go after some long shots and you don't want to sweat the 18 to 1s, which are dumb, then come along and ride with me on this fantastic voyage of DB's Big Balls betting cards. And I wrote up what I'm doing all season long is I'm going to spend $50, 50 actual dollars, and I'm going to tell you how I want to allot that $50 in the email. And I'm going to tell you who I'm betting on, whether it's first round leaders, outright bets, top 10s, top 20s, head-to-heads, whatever. And I'm going to say, here's where I'm spending my $50, and I am putting my money where my mouth is, and we're going to track it all season long. And you can either play the plays with me, or you can fade everybody that I mentioned, because I'm probably, I'm going to be wrong. But everything is courtesy our friends at mybookie.ag. If you've not already joined MyBookie, what are you doing? There's over 600 of you that have joined my bookie under our code, which means you are our babies. They are taking care of you because you are ours. They take extra special care of you because you are ours. If you have issues, you come to us. We fix them. Okay? And you get a deposit bonus for doing so. So if you want to gamble, go to my bookie. But, I mean, I had Robbie Shelton written up, half a unit, 150 to 1. So I turned $5 into 750.
When you include Robbie Shelton into the first round leader bets that we've hit in the year of our Lord 2019, it's been a banner year for the.
It's been a great year. We've hit.
It really has.
He's like our 6th triple-digit hit in this calendar year of 2019.
All you really need to hit to have a good year is probably 1.
Yeah, I mean, depends on.
Think about it.
Yeah.
It depends on how much you bet, I guess.
Yeah, 2, you're really good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're playing with house money for weeks now after that hit. Weeks. And here's the thing on first-round leader bets. If you're betting first-round leader bets, those have a chance of getting split, right? So if you bet 100 to 1 and he ties with 4 people, which is very likely. I mean, we see this all the time. Maybe not 4, but there's usually 2 or 3 guys at the end of Thursday that all shoot the same number. You have to split that. On my bookie, the rules are you split that. So if it's 100 to 1 and you split it 4 ways, you're getting 25 to 1 on that number. Yeah. So I don't like betting first.
Yeah. What? So I mean.
Sorry, now you're interrupting me. Okay, yeah. Hey, raise your hand if you hit the 150 to 1 bet. You're allowed to talk right now. If you didn't, you shut the up. Yeah. So
why are you like some almighty person because you hit and I can't talk?
I'm not, man. I'm just saying. I'm just giving you. So I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna bet a first round leader bet, there's no point in betting a 20 to 1 or a 50 to 1 or whatever, because you better hope not only do they hit the first round leader, but that they're by themselves, because you're probably gonna end up splitting it. I wrote that up in the email last week. I said I'm tempted to bet Joaquin Niemann at 40 to 1, but I don't want to have to split it. But if you hit 150 to 1 and you split it 2 ways, you're still okay. But
I'm okay with that still. I don't mind splitting.
But that didn't happen this week. So subscribe to the email, people. Subscribe to the email. It is free. We send it to you on Wednesday nights. You got Pat's sommelier picks in that email. Pontificate with Pat's random thoughts. That's probably where you're going to get the laughs. Our boy Ben and True Mav, he gives you your 10 facts that you need to know before you set lineups, before you bet. It's all good stuff. It's all free. Go to tourjunkies.com. Scroll to the bottom of the homepage, bottom right. There's a little chalk bomb thing down there. Put your email address in there. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You're in. So there you go. This is a great week. Great week. Glad to hit the bets. We do have our new show format. We mentioned it last week, but I just want to hit it again. From now on, we are hitting the course breakdown, the key stats, the picks, all that in the beginning. We're going to do a little bit of recap, a little bit of fun stuff here at the end. For all you people who complained, we thank you. You're making us better. Namaste. Whatever that means. Namaste. However, I will say this. Pat, we need some help with these other new segments, right? Because we've got all these new segments.
If you're watching YouTube and you see me looking at my phone, sorry, this is what it is.
It's just sad. So we need you guys who are really in it to actually get extra engaged. Okay. So next week I'd love to try and do a new segment called DB Down in the DMs. So send us a DM on Instagram at Tour_Junkies or Twitter at Tour_Junkies and ask a question. It can be anything. It can be about life. It can be about golf. It could be about betting. It could be about Pat. It could be about anything you want it to be. Just get in the slide up in our DMs. They're open. They're spread wide open, and we want you to get in there.
I just had a funny thought, but I don't know how to put it together for the show here.
And we need voicemails.
People, this could be like. Never mind. Go ahead.
We need voicemails too. 706-6-ADDICT. ADDICT. 706-6-ADDICT. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. We'll talk it up. It'll give us a great new segment. But we've got some good stuff coming in the future down the pipe. But tonight we have just the tip. you think, Pat? Are you ready?
I am not ready for your tip, but I'm not ready to take on the tip. But I think hopefully the listeners are ready for you to give it and
Okay.
hit them up with the tip.
So just the tip is a segment for especially new listeners, new players in the DFS or golf betting world of fun, where we're going to give you just a little bitty tip, just something to think about, something to chew on to make you a better player, better gambler, what have you. Pat gave an excellent tip last week. My tip this week is around lineup construction in DFS and how it pertains to the contest that you're playing in. What I mean by that is, if you're playing a variety of contests, let's say you're playing in 10 contests and you're going to make 10 lineups, do not randomly assign those 10 lineups to those 10 contests. If you're playing in a tournament play, let's say it's a single entry, where the total number of entries is maybe 2,000 entries, but you're also playing in the $8 5 max and there's 25,000 entries, right? Do not construct those lineups the same, because what it's going to take down or finish in the top 5 of that $8 5 max 25,000 entry contest, the lineup that it's going to take to do that is going to have more leverage. It's going to have to be unique. It's going to have to be more the nuts, if you will, to hit than likely the contest with the 2,000 entries, because it's less entries, you just less perfect, right? So we talk about GPPs and cash plays a lot of times on the podcast, but I almost approach some of those tournament plays, especially the single entry plays, or if you're playing high stakes single entries or high stakes 3 max entries, you almost can approach those as cash contests. You still need to be leery of ownership, but you don't have to be so cute. So if you're building lineups and you think, okay, this lineup could be a cash lineup because I feel like, I went a little chalky here. I've got a couple guys that give me some leverage. That may not be best suited to put in the 25,000 entry contest, but it may be just fine to put in the 2,000 entry contest. So think about that. Even when you can't just say, oh, I'm a GPP player, I'm going to play all GPPs, and so all my lineups are going to be GPP lineups. I'm going to make them, and I'm going to just throw them in a contest. Still consider the amount of entries and just how perfect you're going to have to be when you're entering those lineups. And if you've got a really crazy lineup with some serious ownership leverage, put that one in the contest with a lot of entries in it, because that could be the nut flush, right? I mean, if I were building lineups last week and I built this perfect lineup of Neiman, Lashley, Hoagie, Werenski, English, and Harman, where I left $4,000 on the table, it would have been much smarter for me to put that in a contest with 25,000 entries than it would have been in a contest of 2,000 entries, just based on leaving that money on the table, having the guaranteed cut makers, knowing I don't have to have the nuts. So hopefully that makes sense. Pat, does it make any sense to you? Did you learn anything from my tip tonight, or do you have anything to add?
Wow, it was a great tip. I don't have anything to add. I think you did a fantastic job at that. I listened almost all the way through it. So, yeah.
Okay.
I like this segment.
Me
This
too.
is a good segment. Yeah, it's good.
Me too.
I was having one of those, so you talked about at the start of the show, like the brain thing. Like I had it happen to me.
Cancer right now.
Like while you were talking, I had it happen to me. So I was kind of like, part of the reason I didn't listen to it all is because I got distracted. I was thinking about whether or not I was about to die.
Dude, what if you died on the podcast? What if you died live on the podcast?
The odds of me dying live on the podcast are actually higher than
pretty
people
good.
they're higher than people think. It really could happen. And you know what? Let me go ahead and put this out there. If it does happen, okay, some of you may celebrate, but
our audio would be way better.
The audio is going to be better. But don't be upset. Just think of it as the greatest, probably the greatest content of all time. But don't I don't want this to be like Faces of Death. You remember Faces of Death back in the 80s and 90s when you didn't ever see Faces of Death?
Dude, I'm 35. You're 42.
So there was like this. It was like a VHS video. It's called Faces of Death, and you could watch this thing. It was like a whole documentary, and it was like just people dying and stuff. So
You watched that?
I was forced to watch it. I was with a group of people like we were teenagers in high school, and they published the Faces of Death thing, and we all got together, and somebody bought it, and we watched it on the VHS tape, and I didn't want to be there because I hate stuff like that. I hate horror movies. I hate all this kind of stuff. It was terrible. But it was all girls. It was mostly girls, by the way, that wanted to watch it. So I was like, well, yeah, I'll be there.
What kind of... Oh, girls want to watch it. Oh, okay. Well, apparently one of the YouTube viewers, Adam Olstead, said it was badass. He said it was an all like great flick. So
I hated it.
Dude, that's if you did die on the show live though, I mean, we would get a huge bump. Like we would get coverage from every golf outlet, you know, that there is. I mean, I know we'd get a bump. Who would you, if you could pick who replaced you, who would it be?
Oh gosh.
Like somebody that we actually know. Like you can't be like, oh, Tiger Woods. Like somebody that we actually know that you think could do it. Who? Because I've often thought about who would replace you. I've never thought about who would replace me, but I have thought about who would replace you.
I don't.
Adam just said if you die, dibs on the AirPods. Then you're gonna be next. We're getting cancer for you guys right now. We're doing this for y'all.
I don't like this line of questioning. I don't even like your thought process there. It really pisses me off, actually.
I just went there because you talked about dying, so I'm just thinking about it. Who would you?
Yeah, but you say you think about it all the time. Like
not all the time, just a few.
I don't think about like what happens if David dies all the time.
Just a few times. It's not all the time, but seriously, who would you want it to be?
I mean, probably the first thought that comes to my mind. I mean, without having put in a lot of thought into it, would be 2.0. Would be DirecTV.
I've definitely thought about that. When he co-hosted with me earlier this year, I thought about it because we would be able to pick up right where we left off, and listeners would have no clue you died unless they were in the viewing party and they saw you die on. Because you guys talk exactly the same. For those of you that don't know, we're talking about Pat's identical twin brother, Chris, who we call 2.0 or DirecTV Perry. Yeah, they would literally never know that you died because he sounds the same. But I mean, would he be
carrying on the memory?
Would he be willing to do? Like, would he be willing to put in the massive amounts of work that you do? You know, that's the question.
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely a hard worker, but I mean, you know, it's a different level. People don't understand. I don't want to get into that, but they don't understand the stuff that's now you look. I'll give you a lot of credit. You do a lot, so there's a lot of extra work that goes into this. I can't really say that for Chris, but I think he would. He's obviously passionate about the game of golf. Here's what I would say: whoever took my place, I would want to make sure they are as passionate about golf as I am.
Okay.
I don't care how good they are at DFS. I care about if they're passionate about golf. I don't give a two rips about how good they are at DFS, but I do care about how they are as far as the game of golf. So there you go.
Yeah,
that's my one dying requirement. Now that I'm almost dead, that's my requirement for the replacement of Pat.
Who would you want to replace me if you could pick? Would it be your brother? What if it was your brother? What if it was just you and your brother? People would just think you're talking to yourself the whole time.
We'd be like talking to ourselves.
People would think you're like multiple personality. You'd just be arguing with yourself.
I don't know who would replace you.
We should have a show this season. You know, we should do it in the fall swing when nobody freaking listens anyway. We should have you and Chris do a show.
That would be kind of funny. That would be funny.
All right. Well, that's enough of that.
I think should we tell the listeners about the big news we got this week?
No, I think we save it.
You're gonna save that?
Yeah, let's save it.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Okay. About your penile implant? I think we should just save it.
Okay, yeah, save that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, thanks guys. Right. Thanks for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate you. You're the best. Thanks, boys. It's a lot of fun as always. Yeah, we hope you guys have a great week. May your screens be green. You better get on that email, y'all. You best get on that email list and, be about that life. Tour Junkies. See ya!
Out!
Tour Junkies.